O Lord, arise in your mighty power and let every one of your enemies be scattered far and wide. Let those who despise your holy name and oppose your divine will flee before you in absolute terror, for none can stand against the presence of the Almighty, none can resist the power of your hand, and none can overturn the decrees that you have established before the foundations of the world. As smoke is driven away by the wind and vanishes into nothingness, so drive away those who work iniquity and scheme against your righteousness. Let them be completely removed from their place, unable to return, unable to rise again, unable to withstand the fire of your judgment, for you are the righteous judge who rules with justice and truth. As wax melts before the consuming fire, let the wicked perish in the presence of God, for no unrighteousness can abide in your sight, and no evil can stand before your throne, for you are a consuming fire, and your holiness burns against all who practice deceit and all who rebel against your perfect will. But let the righteous, those who love your name and walk in obedience to your commands, be glad and exceedingly rejoice in your presence, for you are their defender, their shield, their strong tower, and their everlasting refuge, and in you, O Lord, they find joy that never fades, peace that surpasses all understanding, and love that endures forever. Let them lift up their voices and sing praises to you, O God, for you alone are worthy to be magnified, you alone are worthy to be exalted, you alone are the King above all kings and the Lord above all lords, ruling in majesty and reigning in glory from everlasting to everlasting, and there is none beside you. Sing to God, O all the earth, sing praises to his glorious name, declare his greatness among the nations, let every tongue confess his dominion, let every knee bow before his throne, for he alone is Lord, and there is no other, and all power belongs to him alone. Extol him who rides on the heavens, who moves upon the clouds in majesty and splendor, who speaks and it is done, who commands and it stands fast, whose voice thunders over the waters and shakes the very foundations of the earth, for he is mighty, and his dominion is over all creation. His name is Yah, the Eternal One, the self-existent and sovereign God who was, who is, and who is to come, and he reigns forever in holiness and truth, and all creation trembles before him, for he is exalted far above all principalities and powers, and there is none who can challenge his supremacy. Rejoice before him, all you who love his name, for he is the Father of the fatherless, the defender of widows, the protector of the helpless, and the hope of the afflicted, and he sits enthroned in his holy habitation, governing the affairs of men, executing justice for the oppressed, and showing mercy to all who call upon him in truth. He sets the lonely in families, bringing the abandoned into the warmth of his love, giving the outcast a place of belonging, healing the brokenhearted, and lifting up those who have been cast down, for he is the God of compassion, the God of all comfort, and he does not forget those who trust in him. He brings out those who are bound in chains and leads them into prosperity, breaking the yoke of oppression, loosing the shackles of bondage, and granting liberty to those who have been enslaved, for he is the mighty deliverer, the one who redeems his people with an outstretched arm and leads them into the fullness of his blessing. But the rebellious, those who harden their hearts against him, who refuse to walk in his ways, who mock his truth and reject his mercy, shall dwell in a dry and desolate land, cut off from his presence, deprived of his goodness, and left to the consequences of their own stubbornness. O God, when you went out before your people, when you marched in might and power through the wilderness, making a way where there was no way, guiding them with the cloud by day and the fire by night, displaying wonders beyond comprehension, the earth trembled at your presence, the very ground shook beneath the weight of your glory, and creation itself bore witness to your majesty. The heavens dropped abundant rain at your command, the skies poured out blessings in response to your word, and the desolate places were filled with life, for you are the God who provides for your inheritance, who sustains his people with unfailing love, and who never forsakes those who trust in him. Mount Sinai itself was moved at your presence, the mountain of God quaked before you, for you are the God of Israel, the one who spoke from the midst of the fire, the one whose voice resounds like thunder, the one whose commands are unshakable, whose covenant is everlasting, whose faithfulness endures to all generations. You, O God, sent a plentiful rain to refresh your weary inheritance, reviving the land, restoring the soul, strengthening the weak, and renewing the hope of your people, for you are the source of all life, the fountain of living waters, and those who drink from you shall never thirst again. Your congregation, your chosen ones, those whom you have called by name and set apart for yourself, dwelt in the land you prepared for them, under the shadow of your wings, safe in the refuge of your presence, sustained by the abundance of your provision, and kept by the power of your hand. You, O God, in your infinite goodness, provided for the poor, supplying all their needs according to your riches in glory, opening the storehouses of heaven, and pouring out blessings upon those who look to you, for you are gracious and full of compassion, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. The Lord gave the word, he sent forth his decree, he commanded, and it was established, and great was the company of those who proclaimed it, declaring his truth, testifying of his works, spreading the message of his salvation to the ends of the earth, for his word is living and powerful, sharper than any two-edged sword, and it shall never return to him void. Kings of armies fled before him, their strength was as nothing before his might, their chariots and horses could not stand against the power of his right hand, and those who opposed him were utterly defeated, for the Lord of hosts fights for his people, and no weapon formed against them shall prosper. Those who remained at home, those who waited in faith, those who trusted in the promises of the Lord, divided the spoil, receiving the rewards of victory, rejoicing in the abundance of his provision, and giving thanks for his faithfulness, for he is the God who blesses his people beyond measure. Though you lie down among the sheepfolds, though you rest in obscurity, though the world may overlook you, yet the Lord will exalt you, lifting you up in due time, adorning you with glory, and making you shine like the wings of a dove covered with silver, whose feathers gleam with gold, for he beautifies the meek with salvation. When the Almighty scattered kings in battle, when he arose in judgment against the nations, when he displayed his sovereignty over all the earth, it was as white as snow in Zaman, pure and radiant, for his works are marvelous, and his judgments are righteous altogether. The mountain of God, the dwelling place of his presence, the high and exalted place where he has chosen to abide, is the mountain of Bashan, majestic and glorious, towering above all others, for the Lord reigns in the midst of his people, and he shall not be moved. Why do you fume with envy, you mountains of many peaks? Why do you rage against the mountain the Lord has chosen? Why do you seek to contend with the purposes of the Almighty? For his will shall stand, his plans shall be accomplished, and none can thwart what he has ordained. This is the mountain in which the Lord desires to dwell, this is the place where he has set his name, this is the sanctuary of his presence, and the Lord shall dwell in it forever, reigning in glory, ruling in majesty, and manifesting his power among his people for all eternity. The chariots of God are 20,000, even thousands of thousands, innumerable in strength, beyond measure in power, an army of heavenly hosts at his command, executing his will, carrying out his judgments, and advancing his kingdom with unstoppable force. The Lord is among them, the commander of angelic armies, the King of glory, the captain of salvation, the one who rides forth in victory, leading his people in triumph, for he is mighty in battle, and his name is exalted above all. You have ascended on high, O Lord, you have triumphed over all enemies, you have led captivity captive, you have broken the power of the oppressor, you have overcome death, hell, and the grave, and you have received gifts among men, even from the rebellious, that you, O Lord, might dwell among us.